let's go to your call for change. On its own, it's rather vague. But what exactly, if you use the word change, what exactly do you mean by it?
As I've said, it's not about changing personalities. It's about changing the system. So what system are we talking about? Is political governance, right? And patronage politics, from political governance to true governance, from patronage politics to institutional governance. So that's what change is all about. Now, you're looking at, as I've said, I gave an example, a health program. We bring the government closer to the people by making it easier for them to access government services. And if we can just continue, like for example, before you can have a government assistance, you need to indigency, certificate of indigency, you need to fill up several requirements, you have to go to so many agencies and offices before you're given that assistance. Why go through that process? Can't we simplify that? Can't we make it even easier for them?
So
as I said, bring government
that's one thing.
Closer to the people.
Streamline processes.
Oh, definitely. Not only on government services, but in all aspects of government transactions.
I'll go back later. I hope we can break it down by sector, economy, politics, and what else. No? Pero I'll go to the complaint filed against you. Interestingly, I was reading your pleading through your lawyer, of course, and I kind of saw that Jonah Abaw, one of the complainants, is actually a regular employee of City Hall. What would you make of that?
That's against the Civil Service Code. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody would file a case against him. And it gives you an idea, the motive of these people. Ano gidang intention nila to was there an anomaly that I did that they're calling out? Or were they directed to file that petition? And since where they work, and my presence here is to threaten that position. So maybe you can add one and one together. And
of course, political partisans would say you are a billionaire, but you only paid Dow, allegedly, reportedly, 525 pesos for your cedula.
Yeah,
what would you say about that?
The payment for ang cedula is your income previous year. Okay, so all they have to do is check my ITR. Every person files an income tax return, and during that on that income tax return, you can compute pila gid ang kinahanglan ko bayaran sa cedula ko. And as I've said, the 2020 was the year of the pandemic. Most of us, especially in my companies, the companies where you get compensation, we have waived our salaries already. Kay damo na nadulaan ubre, and our companies were struggling. So why will I get money from?
So you waived?
We waived it. Tanan kami nag-waive, and then they will say, if you waive your salaries, how can you afford to still go around and live a life? I said, I don't even have to work in my whole lifetime. I will still be able to afford to do what I'm doing. That's where I said, when there is some luck during my stint as a private sector, and I was able to do well, and that's where I started giving back. I won't be able to do that if I was in a hand-to-mouth situation.
Of course.
Exactly.
And of course, they admit that you are a billionaire, in fact.
But exactly. So that I can afford even not to work for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And not just me, even my family would still be well taken care of.
Which makes me wonder, how do you live your life every day, Billionario? I've never been in that position pa.
I can invite you to one whole day. You can bring
That is very nice.
You can bring your camera. The reality
We
show
can do a
kita.
documentary about that.
The Kim Kardashian. Walang-
No, no, seriously, we are actually doing a first in Negros. It's
Ah, really?
the Cinema Verite.
Sige,
So
just don't
it's-
take me when I'm, bago na ako
Oh,
nagmata.
that's
kay-
nice.
my
Sige.
hair is all messed up.
There he is. You're flying the wall, cameraman. Anyway, before I go to other substantial issues like anong vision mo, some people siguro would be asking, what makes you happy? Arat na tanan sa imo eh.
You know, maybe the question is why am I entering politics again?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh,
Considering, I know the difficulties, I know the commitment that you need, especially when it's an executive position. The hardships, the trials, and all those things. It all comes with that position. But at the end of the day, when a person comes up to you and say, thank you for helping them, and you made a difference in that life of that person, I mean, that's more than heaven for me. And then that really makes my day.
mm-hmm. So it's rather food for the soul.
You can say that.
Uh-huh. Well, of course, we go back to Maslow again. Self-actualization. No?
Yeah.
Okay, vision, sir. Let's talk about change, not only in the system, but specific areas.
Okay.
Economy.
Yeah, economic drivers. We
Economic
have to
drivers.
identify economic drivers, something that will have a long-lasting effect, in a sense that let's not choose an economy or an industry that may not be there when probably another pandemic comes around. Because we were trying to get out of this COVID-19 pandemic, but it also taught us that this could happen again. So we would like to position ourselves that should something similar happen, okay, we don't get hit as hard.
But surprisingly, during the COVID pandemic, it was agriculture that was surprisingly resilient.
The things like that. So agriculture, and as I will go back to the technology industry.
Technology industry.
Okay, because those two industries are actually were not hit by the pandemic.
So agriculture for food,
For
food sustainability.
food security, and technology industries to level up our
A smart
workforce.
city, perhaps.
Smart city, definitely.
Health. Health. If you
Health?
talk about health, yes.
As I've said, access to medical service should be easy. I've already mentioned how it should be. Now the question is, if you can access, you have the means already. You have a no-chip card, you have an insurance card, you have a means to access medical service. The question is where? Right? So they keep saying that Bacolod needs a hospital. Yes, Bacolod needs a hospital because most of the people that go to the regional hospital, napuno na eh.
70 to 80%.
That's why you see people lining up in the streets and trying to get into that hospital. And not only that, even Silay, the provincial hospital, 40% of patients are coming from Bacolod. So there is really a lack of facilities to attend to the medical needs of Bacolod. But I said, aside from one regional hospital, there are 6 private hospitals. So I said, it's not hospital that we need, right? It's being able to access the hospital facilities by our community or people who probably can't really afford to pay the private hospitals.
So in that case, we're talking about state-owned hospitals.
Yeah, so I tried to reach out to some of the hospitals, and I've talked to about 3. Now we have touch base to about 3 by having a program where the private hospital will accept all of these patients, as long as they have this card that we intend to extend. So in other words, any person in Bacolod City, okay, that is not capable of paying the regular fee of a private hospital can now afford it. So they can just go into any private hospitals, okay, and use the system.
The card alone is enough.
Use the card alone to access that medical attention that they seek. Usually, when you go to a private hospital, the first thing they will ask is down payment.
Yes.
Down payment ka da, etc. So the local government can sign an agreement with all of these private hospitals that, we will assist these people.
And may mga hospital diri nga do, like one hospital is about to move out. May bag-o eh. Sa Mandalagan mismo.
Moving out.
Moving out kay masaylo sila site. Can the city actually think about that? Should you win, ano? Nga you can actually lease
Of
a
course.
previous hospital and then convert it.
Of course.
And then si Greg Satayang, iyang
Yeah.
district hospital is about to rise.
Yes.
Possibly by next year, no?
Yes. Not only that. Not only those, the new hospital, the old hospitals, ang halinan sang previous hospital, that all can be utilized to address the medical requirements of the city.
Very, very interesting. But what intrigues me is ang economic drivers ta. Because as of now, ang ginalantaw ta lang is ang BPO eh, and then we have the malls. But
Funny you mentioned malls. No? Yes, malls bring huge investment to the city. No? But do we want investment coming into the city that stays in the city? Right? Who are the owners of these malls?
outside.
People living outside the city. So, ang tanan nga ginansya, if they make money, where do you think they'll keep the profits? Right? So, we're looking for investment where it stays here and doesn't leave out. You know, we talk of progress and development. Okay. The way for a city to develop is the money in circulation within that confined space. Okay. Increases. Because if it's still the same, then there's really no development happening. Gasaylo lang ang kwarta from one group to the other.
Yes.
Right? But if you start bringing in outside money coming in, and that money staying within the economic circles of that confined space, then you will see that they're growing.
In that case, is an export processing zone
Yes.
one of the things that we should have?
Yes. That's why, but when we talk of manufacturing, we will have to take a look at our competitive advantage. Do we have what it takes for the manufacturing investment to come here and to attract them?
Power, water, roads.
Everything, human cost and all those things. Can we compete with China?
Oh, that.
Because you look at it from a global perspective, right? Can we compete with Taiwan? Can we compete with Japan, Korea, and all those things? Right? So we have to address where do we have a competitive advantage, and that's the industry that we'll go for.
Does the Singapore model appeal to you? Can we actually turn Bacolod into a mini Singapore?
Well, to me, when we talk of technology industry, when we're looking at smart cities, the answer could be yes. No, we just have to work for it. It will take time, but I believe if we set it in the right direction, and work on it, we should be able to achieve it.
Yes, yes. I have to ask you this, if you may. Siyempre, again, from political partisans of your opposing force, no? The issue against you is that you are a gambling lord, siling nila. Would you care to comment about that?
Well, my business is public. Everybody knows it's. In fact, our company is a publicly listed company in the stock exchange, so everybody knows that. First, it's a legal business. I have not violated any laws. It is authorized. I give employment. I pay my taxes. So what's what's wrong with that?
Mhm.
No? So if it was any other business with similar stature in terms of legal foundation, would there be something wrong? No? So I mean, if it's not a good business to begin with, then let's close down. Let's close down Pagcor. Let's close down all the other casinos, all the other gaming outlets in the country.
But of course, you understand the partisans are very insistent also.
Well, that's
well.
been an issue ever since I ran
You
for
became
public office.
congressman. Uh-huh.
They feel that it's an issue that people can resonate with. But I don't know. So far, it has not harmed my election campaign.
Okay, tell me about your dream for Bacolod City, without going into the specifics. But what is your dream for Bacolod?
First, to increase the middle class, reduce homelessness, provide a decent home for every Bacolod non, that they have a place of their own that they can call balaygid nila. To ensure that people would have enough opportunities for either business, employment, and have a social environment that's conducive for a decent life. You go to the markets now. I mean, it's a clear sign of neglect. Tanang nga merkado, you go in there, people would realize that nothing was done to improve those markets.
So it's Puluyan and Kahigayunan. Shelter and opportunities.
Yes.
Let's go to that program of yours for housing. What do you plan initially?
We're going around. I'm doing a survey right now on all the informal settlers in Bacolod. And there are several models that we can adopt. And basically, all we have to do is make sure that the housing program that we give them is sustainable and affordable and holistic in approach. When I say holistic, people always say, let's put a relocation site out there. But it should not just be a relocation site. It should have livelihood programs and all those things so that they will stay there. That is the hardest thing to do.
Yes.
Because there's always a mismatch of jobs. People don't know what to put up. And sustaining that kind of program is very, very hard. Basically, what you want to do is have a relocation site that has a transportation program, okay, that it is not a burden to them. Because transportation is actually your third biggest cost of every household.
So if private companies can do townships, government should also do that.
Actually, government should be the initiator of development. Because when you bring government outside, the jobs follow. So that's why government is usually the initiator of development.
So in a way, it's also an economic driver. Public spending.
It is an economic driver.
What else? What else?
What else? What do you want?
Deep in your heart, what do you want for Bacolod?
As I've said, I'm looking at all of the issues in Bacolod, from water, electricity, floods, infrastructure, health programs, education. All of these things you must attend to. It's focusing on these basic sectors of governance, and forgetting about whether I will win, whether politically I have a control on the city, making sure that it's just, my people going around that gets the benefit. For example, I've heard certain public officials deny like certificate of indigency because they are not within the same political color, And this is something that I just heard yesterday. This a person named Michelle Pilla from Taculing. She was denied an ambulance or transport to the hospital because what I heard was she had a poster of Run Albee Run in her house. And 2 days ago, they were able to reach out. We facilitated the lady, 34-year-old lady, to the hospital. But unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Oh.
No. So she died about 2 days ago.
Was it COVID or
no,
anything else?
It was, she couldn't, hindi na siya kapangihibla, so it was there for a couple of months. And then it reached the heart and it got intoxicated. I mean, things like that.
She was denied an ambulance.
That's, in other words, they were asking for assistance to be brought to the hospital. So things like that. When you talk of political governance, when you talk of giving service because of color, of your political color, that cannot be. And that has to change.
All right. Very sad. But I'll go to some other issues. Is it true that Congressman Paduano will be your vice mayoral candidate?
No, he's running for Congress.
Okay.
He still has one term. And
So it's not true.
He's doing very well as a minority leader.
Who's going to be your vice mayoral candidate?
Wala pa.
Wala pa.
First, I'm still looking at the things that I should focus on, the things that I can bring to the city, the things that I can change. Once that's done, I think my slate will be next.
Can we say that Sadi Saison and June Gamboa are some of your choices?
Well, all of them are actually, there's no particular person yet that I'm looking at. I'm just trying to focus on what the city needs, what can I do, what can I bring.
So it's more about firming up the vision.
Yeah, because I can work with anybody. I mean, it's not as if there's only a particular person I can work with. Because to me, it's not about blind loyalty to an individual. It's agreeing with a direction where we're going. We're agreeing with a vision of what we intend to do with the city.
How do you guard against arrogance? I mean, I don't know if you've encountered people who don't agree with you.
And then that's their prerogative. Right?
No, but I mean, how do you guard against being arrogant?
At the end of the day, you can explain to them. It's a matter of showing them what you want to do. Okay, so once you're effective in convincing them to do what you want to do, then that's it.
Yes.
By just putting a new person, new blood. Sometimes you want young people. You want new blood to come in, so they have a different way of doing things. They look at it differently. So people are trying to say, we want to try something else.
All right. On that note, former Congressman Albee Benitez, thank you so much.
Thank you, Julius.